Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Wednesday, April the 13th. We're hanging fire on most news today. First of all, a federal court jury has the case of Josh Hastings, the former Little Rock policeman who was accused of unlawfully killing a burglary suspect about 5 years ago, Bobby Moore. His mother is suing over her son's death. Hastings said he fired on a moving car to save his own life. People who were in the car said the car was backing up. A jury will decide whether damages are needed in this case. Check back with ArkansasBlog.com later in the day to see if we have a verdict. Meanwhile, it's the third day in federal court of a trial by 7 men seeking to halt executions scheduled to begin in Arkansas next Monday. These are 7 death row inmates who faced death penalties for a number of years, and the state is hoping to put them all to death in about a 10-day span beginning Monday. Their arguments include competency of counsel and the drug process and whether it constitutes unconstitutional punishment. Meanwhile, 2 of the defendants in this case have also filed a separate action asking the state Supreme Court to delay their executions because of a pending U.S. Supreme Court case about the sufficiency of mental examinations for people with mental problems. 2 of the inmates in the Arkansas case have well demonstrated mental problems. Whether they were able to provide competent assistance in their defense or not is the argument they want to make to the Supreme Court. Till now, the Supreme Court hasn't been much willing to get into the death cases and have speeded the route to executions. Finally, today, some 200 religious leaders went to Governor Asa Hutchins' office, presented a letter to him asking him to commute the sentences to life without parole. They said that however terrible the acts that may have been done by the people who were convicted, the better course is for dignity of human life. Last night, the Little Rock City Board began a discussion of whether it would resume $300,000 a year in taxpayer payments to subsidize Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce. From comments made last night, I'd say it's a pretty good bet that the board will approve resumption of those payments next week. City Manager Bruce Moore said it's just been a wonderful partnership with the Chamber. They've done work for economic development the city itself could not do for the same amount of money. We took a look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers for the period in which the Chamber has represented the city. Interestingly enough, the job force in Little Rock is smaller today than it was 12 years ago when the Chamber began its work. And in fact, the job force increased in 2 years when the city was not paying the Chamber of Commerce. Not that that will affect this decision, but it's an interesting statistical fact if facts matter to you. We learned today that the State Ethics Commission will hold a hearing in about 2 weeks on an ethics complaint against Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. He provided some $300,000 worth of tickets, travel, hotels, and other expenses so that any North Little Rock policeman who wanted to could take himself and his family to a Dallas Cowboy game in Dallas. There's a state law that prohibits gifts of more than $100 to public servants. The North Little Rock City Council tried to put a gloss of legality on this by declaring these gifts city compensation, although no taxes were paid for the benefits and not all police received the benefit. This was a very popular thing. The blogger who filed the complaint about this has got nothing but criticism for saying something bad about a good deed for good policemen, but the law is the law. The Ethics Commission, will they take any sort of action over something that was very popular? Interesting question. Will be decided in a few weeks. We learned today from the Sheridan Headlight newspaper in Sheridan that a former baseball and football assistant coach at Sheridan High School, Tyler Pickett, had entered a negotiated plea to exchanging sexual photographs with minor students and also having sexual contact, sexual assault with one of them. He got a 20-year sentence of probation. The prosecutor said the family was all right with probation. He'll have to register as a sex offender. If he strays at all, he'll be considered a habitual offender. And finally, from Kansas last night, some news, an election loss that Democrats want to make good news of, and perhaps it's so. James Thompson, who was a Bernie Sanders backing pro-choice Democratic civil rights lawyer candidate for Congress in the 4th District of Kansas, which has been historically Republican, came within 6.8 points of unseating a Republican seeking the seat that had been vacated by Mike Pompeo. 7-point loss is a 7-point loss, except Pompeo won the district by 27 points the last time it was contested. Does this mean that there's hope in swing districts for Democrats because of the Trump effect? A lot of people seem to think so. Does it hold promise in, say, Arkansas, where the Democratic congressman, the Republican congressman in the 2nd District has never carried Pulaski County? In Kansas, Wichita gave the Democratic candidate almost enough votes for a victory. Could that work in other places? Democrats hope so. Republicans tend to downplay it, of course. But it is a message to keep trying to resist. All is not yet lost, and in the name of resistance, I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.